Well, we're about to go to bed on our first night on Pablove Across America, and the nighttime dedications are when we remember children who haven't made it, and Joanne suggested that I would make the first night about Pablo, our little boy who didn't make it. I don't really put too much stock in whether things are hard or not, or whether things make me uncomfortable or not. But and I never hesitate to do this part of the job. Um, I think it's an important part of what we do out here. Putting a name, putting a story, a city, a place, in front of all of us, so that we understand that pediatric cancer isn't just a medical category. It's not just two random words. Tonight I hesitated before I hit the start button on this video because I really have to consider a little over a year after Pablo's passing what all this means for me as an individual. In this one particular video, when I'm talking about our son, Grady's brother, I'm not just standing as a kid's cancer advocate, as I am when I'm doing every other dedication. You know, this is my son. I lost my son, and I miss him very much. And just hanging out with my friend Alex Weinert's two boys, Dylan, who's 7, and he's exactly the same age that Pablo would be right now. And of course his son Owen, who is going through cancer treatment right now and will be on treatment until sometime in 2013. So being around his kids is very moving to me, and yeah, it's very moving. They're amazing kids, to say the least. I wish Pablo was here to play with them. I wish Pablo and Joanne and Grady were here at this hotel with me, and that we were doing this ride as a show of strength, as a victory lap. I have no doubt that our dedication to pediatric cancer and doing what we can in this lifetime would still be intact. I don't know what shape it would have taken had Pablo made it. I don't. As I sit here and stare at my photos of Pablo on my desktop, which I do every day, and as I sit here and look at the photo that we took of him running down the beach in Florida just a couple of months before his diagnosis in 2008, you know, it really hurts. The photo, maybe 1 or 2 seconds after this one that's on my desktop right here, is on Pablo's grave marker, which we sent into the foundry right before I left. Rory Wilson from Danger Bird, who designed the Pablove logo, designed Pablo's grave marker, and I just miss Pablo. And part of that longing, part of that ache that I feel is It's really what fuels me in the Pablove part of my life. It's really what fuels me in all of my life. Um, Sometimes I think it would just be so much easier to be angry and to just check out of life. I'm angry, but I don't think I could ever couple that with checking out of life, dropping out of life, just turning into a zombie. It's not my thing. Even if it was my thing, it doesn't even occur to me. It's clearly not my path. I feel that Pablo and my older brother Scott, who died from cancer in 2004, September 2nd, 2004. I feel like they are my spiritual guides. I feel like they are the the wind in my sails. I derive immense amounts of energy and focus and clarity from them. You could call this a spiritual belief. You could call this hocus pocus. Um, I just call it the only choice I have. Um, I miss my son. This invisible, unfair, treacherous disease called cancer took him from me, took him from his mother and his brother, and took him from this world as we know it. And we are doing everything we can to stand up in the world and raise a flag and raise money. Somebody asked me the other day what Pablo thought of all this Pablove stuff and what he thought about the blog and what he thought about people knowing who he was, even though he didn't know them. Probably annoyed him sometimes. He probably got a kick out of looking at his photos on the internet. Sometimes he probably was sick of his dad posting things on the internet. Um, but we did it how we did it, and I did it how I did it. And the one thing I definitely know about my son is that he was loved, and he absolutely knew that he was loved by everybody around him. The most important people around him were the three of us. He absolutely knew that we loved him. So I'm a little bit fried, to be honest. This has been a tough year. In many ways, it's been a great year. In many ways, it's been filled with so many changes and so many evolution points in my business and in my life, and the growth of the Pablove Foundation. That I arrived on the bike this morning feeling like I wanted to just pedal to the nearest pillow and just go to sleep. After 90 minutes or so, or 2 hours, I really started to kick it in, and I ended the ride far stronger and far clearer of heart and mind than I started. And I will say that much of the time that I spent on the bike today was spent with Pablo and Scott in my heart, um, talking to them. The great thing about cycling is that people probably can't hear you if you're talking out loud, quietly, when you're behind them on the bike. I don't know what else I have. I'll talk about Pablo for the rest of my life. You know that, and I know that. I will not stop fighting to make things better for pediatric cancer until the day that I die. That's my commitment to anybody who's watching this. I just don't understand it. When you see the video that we're going to put up later on tonight or tomorrow with Owen Weinert, this boy who is able to speak in a way that Pablo never was able to speak. Pablo had an incredible voice. He had an incredible presence with his words and his perspective and his sort of vocal impetus. But Owen is a few years older than Pablo ever was, and he's able to really kick it into high gear. And I can't wait for you to hear the perspective of a boy who's a little over 9 years old, and what he thinks of his cancer treatment, and how he has had to consider mortality at his young age, and well, what his opinion of the commercial drug industry is. It's moving. I'm not going to be able to put a fine summary on the end of this video. Tonight we dedicate our resting hours to a little boy named Pablo, who in his final moments of life sat up from Joanne's chest as he was taking one of his final breaths, and he looked around the room at me and Grady and Joanne. We were sitting silent, and he screamed 2 words: "Say something." And that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep doing it until I am in the grave with him in our family plot at Forest Lawn Cemetery in LA, which is where our ride is going to end on October 21st. I'm going to continue saying something. That's what I'm here to do. It's the only choice I have, and it's the only option I'm going to take. So thank you for watching this video. Good night.